Welcome to Wake Up with Joni, the podcast where embodied consciousness meets life, relationships, and leadership through lived experience. Today's conversation invites us into the tender and often uncomfortable territory of reinvention. What happens when the identity we built no longer serves, when success feels hollow, or when heartbreak dismantles who we thought we were? Joining me today is Dr. Stephen Paul Edwards, author, spiritual counselor, and guide for emotional transformation, right up our alley here. With a PhD in spiritual counseling and a life journey that spans high-pressure business success, personal collapse, heartbreak, and profound awakening, Stephen brings both wisdom and lived experience to this conversation. His memoir, The Venus Flytrap, is an unflinching exploration of power, obsession, vulnerability, and the courageous work of reclaiming oneself after life cracks us open. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. Like I said, I'm in a bit of a high right now because I was listening to one of your other podcasts with Marissa. And, you know, when you get on a high like that, your vibration changes. It shifts, right? So my vibration is pretty high most of the time, but it immediately caused me to pick up a book I haven't picked up in years. And it's so profound. If you don't mind, I'd like to just read some of this book that I just picked up because I think it will lead into a lot of things. Is that okay?
Absolutely. And thank you, by the way. Thank you for taking the time and doing research on me.
I always do, but it's not always as good as yours was. I also listen to Blaze, so you have some really extraordinary guests, so I'm really under pressure here. But anyway, I'll read from here. Okay, there is never any shortage until you decide that there is. Once you decide and believe there is a shortage, you've made a construction of thought, convincing you that money, food, possessions, men and women are in short supply. And so you experience that reality. There is glory in your present. You are colors, sound, shape. You are light vibrating. You are everything and nothing. You are my love. I am your love. Together, we are all the love in the universe. As you are perfect. As you live within me. As you be, you are being free. As you, I am to see.
And who wrote that?
I did.
I was thinking, I bet he wrote this.
It's a channeled book, yeah.
It speaks to higher power. It speaks through higher power.
Yeah.
Higher power being unconditional love and motion, which is another way to put it. You talk about the no thing, which is the no thing, having no thing going on in our mind, but being connected to source itself.
Or being no thing.
Yes.
So when people say you're nothing, say, yeah, thank you.
I appreciate it. It took me a lot of work to get here.
That's right. Yeah. I could have saved a lot of money. Thank you so much.
Yes. And then you talked about the dream, which it's all a dream.
All a dream.
And we create our reality. We are the creators of our reality through our thoughts.
100%. Thoughts, words, actions, right? All vibratory fields of energy.
And yes. And so the web of life, the tendrils of energy, it's all in that piece. I know, too, from my research, that like many of us out there who are trying to make a difference in the world have come through a dark night of the soul. So where would you like to begin in your story? Who the heck are you?
Yeah. Well, first I'm still trying to figure that out. But we can start from pretty much anywhere. And every few years I had a dark night of the soul. Where did we begin? We begin as a kid. And usually we have trauma when we're a kid. We don't think any other kids are going through trauma. We just think we're the only one.
Absolutely.
And you find out years and years later we were all going through it. But it's not like everybody goes to school and then goes to the playground at break and go, hey, are you having any trauma? Because I'm going through it, man.
Right.
We don't talk about it because it's almost like we're ashamed.
Think we're alone. You just hit on a universal truth for people.
Yeah, because we feel ashamed, we can't share it, so we feel alone, one thing after the other.
Yes.
And then that just compounds it. So anyway, so you're asking me, I'm assuming, so where maybe these patterns of behavior came from that made me insane.
That wasn't what I asked, but please.
No, so I went through this experience. There's so many things that happened, but what actually happened in essence was I became very frustrated. When I was at home, I was walking on eggshells, couldn't move, had no voice, those things, which causes you to feel frustrated. I guess you should say, it caused me to feel frustrated, and it caused me to be very angry, holding this anger inside me to the point where when I went to bed, I had to bang my head on my pillow until I was exhausted and fell asleep.
How old were you?
About 7, 8. I don't think it went past that, but I'm not going to, if anybody says it was at 20, I'm not going to deny it. So anyway, it happened for a number of years until at 16, I was admitted to an insane asylum because I had this experience of mania. So you keep things pressure, going to blow up, right? So anyway, and they gave me ECT, which is electric convulsive therapy, which I strongly recommend for everybody because it's a wild experience. Fortunately, they didn't give me a video, so I didn't get to see myself being tortured with electricity going through my brain, right? But there were definitely consequences to that, and I did lose part of my memory, which is probably just as well. But anyway, so I'm just talking about trauma that happened to me, but also shame, because I'm not going to go out and tell everybody that. I'm going to keep it to myself because I don't think it's easier today to bring out the fact that you've been in a mental asylum, but it's probably a little easier. So I was diagnosed as being a manic depressive, which I'm proud of. Anyway.
Would you say that's also the same as bipolar?
We call it bipolar today. Back then, they called it manic depression. That was a long time ago. So anyway, and I went through a number of these things. I had trauma at school. I had trauma at home. I had trauma all over the place. And of course, when you're a kid, you think it happens to you. And somebody said, hey, this is great. It's happening for you, right? I go, I'll freaking kill you. Shut up. Bro, no, it didn't happen for me. It happened to me. And that also becomes part of your victim because you start to believe, based on your consciousness and based on your experience, that things can happen to you. That makes it easy. You don't have to do anything. It wasn't my fault. I wasn't involved. So anyway, but again, that is a good thing because if you could remember who you really are, you couldn't have an experience. You'd never have an experience. You would never have any trauma to work through. And then people go, what are you trying to tell me? Trauma's a good thing? Okay, sit your ass down. Yes, it's a good thing because you can't grow without resistance. That's not totally true, as we'll see in a minute, but generally speaking, I sometimes say I hate to generalize, which is a good thing to say before you generalize. But anyway, I go through the experiences, and they're all held in the cells of my body. In my younger years, so get into my 20s, early 30s, I got into the wrong side of the street. Oh, what do you say? I got involved in drugs and gangs and all that stuff, which was great.
All the things.
Which was for a period of time. I was very fortunate, just to be clear. I was very lucky that I don't have an addictive biochemistry. Because if I did, I'd be dead. And a lot of my friends are because of that. So for whatever reason, it all faded. I think certain things happen for a reason, and maybe you weren't supposed to be addicted. But that's the bottom line anyway. And then this is in England. So this is in England. Then I decided to come live in America. Mostly because I was on the run. But I do like America, right?
They call that pulling a geographic
relocation. Yes.
Yes, that's right. If I move there, then everything will be okay. Except for wherever you go, there you are.
You are.
There you are. All right.
Now you're bringing up another side of the story. So when I was a kid, I wanted to run away from home. And I did 8 times. But they kept catching me and bringing me back. Finally, I get away from home. I left home when I was 16. Running is over. No. Just started. Just got going here. So across the street from where we lived was a little dog with Napoleon syndrome. So cars would go by and he would go chase the car. He'd never catch the damn car, but he would just chase it. Made him feel good. One day he's chasing after a car and the car stopped. And the dog ran into the back of the car and it squealed. It was in pain and it started running the other way. What's the dog run away from? Pain. The dog thought that if it ran fast enough, he could get away from it. And looking back, that was me. Because I never wanted to turn around and look at the pain. So it just kept going and going and going and never looking back because it was too painful. Now, I didn't know that. I just kept running. I kept going. I lived all over the world. But like you said, wherever you go, there you are. It's like thinking this is going to solve all your problems. You go, and then you get there and you go, yeah, no, that's not it. I'm going to go over here. This woman's going to be the right woman for me. Yeah, no, not that one. I've been married 4 times.
You're an expert.
I'm totally an expert. If you ever want to know how to get a divorce or how to get into a divorce, just give me a call. So I realized that a lot of people said to me, you've had 4 marriages? I said, yeah. What was wrong with all those women? And so I go, let's figure this out. 4 marriages. There's only one constant in all those marriages. It's me. So I think I might have something to do with me. So anyway, patterns repeat. Not consciously aware of them. So I ran away. In fact, I had one girlfriend that finally said to me, "You're a runner. Do you know that?" And I went, "How the hell do you know that?" Because if it's going wrong, I don't mean in 5 minutes. I wasn't married for 5 minutes. But whenever it got for me, like I felt at home, that pattern, when I just couldn't handle it anymore, then I'd run away. Yeah. I just didn't see a solution.
Let me just interject in this moment. What we're talking about, the purpose of the podcast is wake up and then sustain. What you're talking about from relationship to relationship, from geographical move to geographical move, there was no interruption in the conversation in your own head. So all you had was the same exact information over looping and the same tools or lack of tools, and therefore creating the same relationships over and over again. So I just wanted to put a little bow on that for people out there, because that's what we're doing here. We're interrupting the conversation. And it's not that you know the truth or I know the truth or any other guest knows the truth, but it's here's a story. Here's a really cool, fun journey we're going on with you. What are you getting from it? And how can you wake up your own mind and your own life out there?
Okay. For some reason, and I don't think this is going to be a shock to you, I take a lot of risks. I'm a risk taker. Yeah, no kidding. But the thing is, what that has given me is the gift of knowing resilience. And as difficult as it got, somehow I knew I was going to get through it because of my childhood. I knew I would get through it. This too shall pass, and it always did. Now, I didn't always pass in 5 minutes. Sometimes it was 5 years where I had to pay the consequences. But for some reason, I just keep doing it. And because I love adventure, I was learning and growing. But like you said, you never know everything. You've never discovered everything. There are always facets of yourself that you're trying to that you've given away at certain points in your life that you're trying to retain and take back. There are certain attributes that you have or gifts that we have that we're afraid of, that we're afraid of stepping into the world and being who we really are.
Okay, pause there, because that ties back into the reading that you did in the beginning of the podcast, which so beautifully talked about how it registered in my mind is that one of the reasons that we can't admit that we are connected to everything is that we have to then take responsibility.
Yeah.
So that ties into what you were just saying.
I think it was either you or Marissa that said, look, just because we might give other people advice doesn't mean we're taking it ourselves. I just went on a podcast recently called The Secret Lives of Therapists. People think that we've got everything. I can only speak for me, but I do speak for other people sometimes. But at the moment, I'm just going to speak for me. And that is, I was, as we talk about, so focused on running away and pouring myself into whatever I was doing, like intense, because it was escape. And so I did the same thing with my counseling. I did the same thing with being on stage and doing all the speaking. But I wasn't taking a breath.
I wasn't integrating.
And I did to some degree, but this experience, this relationship, it's so unbelievable. The stuff that I do is, this guy's an idiot, which I pretty much was. But I was getting something out of it, which we'll maybe get to in a minute. To come into this existence, you have to forget who you are because you couldn't have an experience. Because as you know, in our essence, we're perfect beings of light. And that is a good reminder for people because no one's more enlightened or less enlightened than you are. You're just in a different stage of forgetfulness. Maybe you've forgotten more than me or I've forgotten more than you, but we're all in it together because we're all part of the same consciousness, as I know you talk about. But you go in and out of it. Nobody becomes more aware and doesn't go back. Nobody. Every deity you've ever listened to was in and out of higher level of, whatever you want to call it, enlightenment, higher level of consciousness. Nobody stays there because everything is a wave.
I have to interject that you were talking about how you felt vibration when we first started talking. And the truth is, when I'm in conversation with another human being, whether it's coaching or in the podcast, I am in a completely different vibration. I am completely 100% right here, right now, in the present moment. There is nothing else going on. And so the vibration is so high. And then I was at pickleball this morning and I was looking at this guy's socks and I just went, those are the ugliest socks I've ever seen. That outfit just, and the guy next to me goes, well, that was really judgmental. I started laughing. Like, that was so judgmental. I forgot that I'm a light being. And one of the things I work on is being really, especially with working with people, especially with people like this. There is no judgment. It's, oh my God, this is just such a privilege. And then I'm looking at his socks. So I too forget. Go ahead.
I want to see those socks.
We're awful.
I want a pair. So we go in and out of it. And so I had to forget to have this new dark night of the soul. But it was a gift.
Yes.
What? Well, she did this, she did that. No, she did it for me. 100%. 100%. Her soul knew that she was going to come into my life and be a master teacher. So I have nothing but gratitude and love for her.
That is a really brilliant statement, because everybody is our teacher. Yeah. And this is your level of understanding and acceptance and surrender to that relationship as you went through this journey, and looking back on it shows a level of consciousness and the willingness to lean into whatever it is we resist, or the challenge, which is where the biggest gifts of power are. So she was a beautiful gift of power for you.
Lessons are still unfolding.
Yes.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Now I think about the whole thing more and more, because I've written this book and I'm going out promoting the book. And then I go, no, I hadn't even got that one. That's a huge one.
Yeah, it's the gift that keeps on giving. We love her.
We do. We love her. We're just not going to have her back in our lives, okay?
We're not going to be married to her.
Do that, but we can love her from afar.
Yes.
But anyway.
With a telescope. Go ahead.
And maybe I'll be the first one on Mars. Maybe that will help.
There you go.
That's a bit more. So anyway, I get in this relationship, and obviously you only stay in it if you're getting something out of it, right? And I was getting a lot out of it. First of all, Marissa, when she talked about her dark night of the soul, and she said, I got to the point where I was exhausted. Mm-hmm. I didn't even want to go to the store. I didn't want to be around. And that's where I was after my fourth divorce. I had no energy. I just wanted peace. But I also had given up on everything. I let my speaking career go. And I've done this a lot of times. I have a tendency to build things up through the intensity, burn out, let it crash, and then rebuild again, which again has advantages. And I was like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to get an airplane. I don't want to speak to anybody. And so you're primed then, aren't you? Now you're ready, because your walls are down. You are ready to really do some real work. And who shows up? Miss Wonderful. And she became my magnificent obsession. I don't know whether you've ever read any Jungian psychology, but it explains this whole thing, that you are going to meet someone who's going to seem perfect. You're going to go, thank you. You finally brought him or her in my life. This is amazing. And then a few months later, you're going, how could you be so mean? That you bring this person and you make me think is going to be the right person, and then you make it absolutely untenable. You make it impossible for us to be together. Well, because you're not supposed to be. You're supposed to have this experience of seeing the mirrors.
Yes.
That are going to give you the lessons, the guidance, the insights that you need to get where you say you want to go. So who asked for this? You did. Yep. You asked for it. Here it is. And if you want to get into the mirrors, we can definitely do that. But there were so many, but some more powerful than others. One of the biggest things that's made a change in my life, which is going to sound silly, like a lot of things that I do, but it's that belief. And you mentioned this in the podcast. When the worst thing in your life happens to you, can you honestly say, at some point, this happened for me? And most people can't. Because they don't really believe it. They just think it's some words. It's not words. It's more. It's like faith is not a word. It's an action.
So we're talking about too, so this is important, because it isn't just about having the words or the concept or the theory. It's about lived experience, which I love. I love the age range of the people I have on the podcasts, anywhere from 20s to 70s. But the lived experience of people, that's delicious to me. Yeah. Would you say that in a way, so Jungian, you think this person is the perfect answer to everything because it feels so familiar, but that's the fractures lining up.
Yep.
That's the fractured parts within each other, which then we can call mirrors. And yes, I would love for you to talk about a couple of the mirrors that you saw that helped you evolve.
Well, there's levels of that. And you as a woman can say, because of abuse, physical, sexual, whatever it is, and I can also happen to men too. That's difficult to get hold of. But let me give you an example here, which is not to that degree, but it happened for me in the story. So this story is It's hilarious. It's tragic. It's romance. It's beautiful in many ways, and it's ridiculous. So at this point, we've had a fight. We're broken up, which is pretty normal daily occurrence. So she's run off somewhere, and I'm traveling 4 days a week. She would do things like she'd leave windows open so she could climb back in if she wanted to. So I just closed them, but that's not going to stop her. She just smashed the window. She gets in the house and she sets off the alarm. We have 6 squad cars, 2 SUVs, the dogs. And then the police call me, the sheriff's department, and he says, look, she's here. He says she wants to get in the house. So I go, listen, under no circumstances, let her in that house. He said, we got to let her in. Obviously, she lives here. I kept having that vision of the guy from Wolf on Wall Street. In his dreams, he thinks everything worked out perfectly. And then they go look at her car and it's completely trash. I come in the house and I'm looking around and it's like, everything is fine. So I go in the kitchen, I put the kettle on, a cup of tea. And the kettle's not boiling. She snipped the cord. So she cut every cord. And then I go, oh, and I know it doesn't end there. At this point in my life, I'm making a small fortune. So my wardrobe was to die for. And as soon as I thought about it, I went, oh, no, please. So I go to the closet. Again, everything looks fine. I open up the clothes, and she's cut them all to shreds. And my shoes. Joni, that is a spiritual
violation.
I was furious. I was angry. I was frustrated. I didn't want to hurt her. I just wanted to kill her. I finally flopped down in the armchair. I'm looking out over the lake, and I go, okay, this is going to be good. Now you're going to explain to me how this happened for me. And it's not like immediately you're going to get it. You're just not. You got to be committed to that process and that belief. So the first thing that comes up that's anywhere close is, it's just clothes. You can replace clothes. And then your brain goes, screw that. Those were really nice clothes. You're not going to get it right away. So, okay, I got to keep going. That's not going to suffice.
Yes.
So I don't know how many hours it was later, maybe even days. Then I go, attachment. I was attached to those clothes. Now, what does that mean? It means if you're attached to them, it means you think, believe that they're a part of you. They're a part of your identity. And I go, those clothes are not me. That belief has come with me since I was a child. And I need to put that toy down and let it go. But, of course, it doesn't end there. Because then you've got to ask yourself, what else am I attached to? And so that's the beginning, as it says in that statement, of letting go. Of realizing that anything you possess possesses you. That's why they're called possessions, right? The point is, I just think that the more you can adopt that belief, the freer you're going to be. And once you really adopt that belief, you can never be a victim in your life ever again.
Yeah. So did you also identify an attachment to her in that relationship?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But I was never afraid to let her go.
That is tied to the question that I wanted to ask you earlier, but also I want to make a comment. It's interesting because in Buddhism, in ancient Toltec wisdom, in Christianity, and all the purest of the religions, it's practice non-attachment.
Yeah, absolutely.
That the attachment piece causes suffering. And that's a great example in a fun way for people to really get that in that story. The question was, where do you think obsession come from? Because that's a level of obsession that most people never experience coming at them or doing it to somebody else.
So, first of all, and we've already talked about this, no matter how much work you've done, you're going to have more to do. It doesn't get easier, it gets harder. Because the next challenge, because the universe is saying, okay, you built some resilience here, but you still got walls up against other things. I'm not trying to say I'm fully healed. By the way, you can find me at enlightenment.com. No, I'm saying that I learned a lot. I still have a lot to learn, but the things that I've learned have put me in a better position to do what I do.
Yes.
And reach more people because, and you said it earlier, when you've had the experience.
It ties into the beginning once again, is remembering who you are. We forget who we are. We come here and we unpack and pull the layers off and discover each level of who we are. And that's the journey. I think when I hit enlightenment, I say jokingly, that I'll be dead. That's it.
No, I don't agree. I had what is called satori, which you know what that is. Mm-hmm. That happened to me. I have all kinds of experiences like that, but they don't last. You have them and they go away, but they change you to a degree when you have them. But it doesn't mean you're going to wait till you get to wherever the hell we're going. But I do agree with you that life is simply about remembering, reconnecting, remembering with the whole, with the oneness, who you really are. That's it.
So how do you recommend to people that they lean into the resistance and they lean into the challenge so that they get the gift of power? But in order to do that, they need to get through the discomfort and not bypass it.
When people are doing things, not to you, but for you, they're trying to trigger you. By showing you that trigger is something you need to heal. So if they're triggering you and you get angry, there you go. That's something you might need to look at. Then we got to work on the pattern where that came from, where that moment was in your life where someone said that to you or something similar or in your mind made you feel that way. And we got to change it because if we don't, you will continue to draw people into your life that will do or say things that will trigger you again. If you want to release that energy, that lower vibrational energy from your body, we got to work on the trigger and change the pattern. And I say to people, listen, you don't have a relationship problem, you have a pattern problem.
I love that because it's not personal. And that's something that they can work on. The idea of feedback, we talk about feedback a lot. I do a lot of corporate work, and people are afraid of feedback because of the trigger piece. And there are some people out there that they're almost like, I don't know if you've ever lost a fingernail or a thumbnail or something, but the nerves are all exposed. So they're walking around from the trauma like an exposed nerve. And it's getting in the way of them. They'll never be promoted, or certainly they'll hit a ceiling because you're not going to end up in a C-suite if you're a raw nerve. So how do people learn how to take feedback, do you think?
Well, it's the same thing. Everything is a relationship. You know that. Whether it's your career, your boss, your wife, your kids, your friends, your family, everything is a relationship. Money is a relationship, the relationship you have with money. So the same principles apply to all these things. So how do you not get triggered? The same thing, really. We've got to figure out where the trigger came from rather than trying to cover it up, right? What does that do? It doesn't do anything. You're playing whack-a-mole now.
Yes.
So, and a lot of people do that. So if we really want to get to the core of it, we've got to identify when that trigger was created, and then we've got to change. There's a number of different things you can do. You can do timeline therapy. You can go back there and then put them in the position of how they are today as an adult, take them back when they were a child, and then how would that adult react and change the experience. So that's going to affect the pattern, and that will mirror itself through your whole life. But that doesn't work on everybody. That really doesn't do that. Nothing works on everybody. So you really, and you know this, you become an artist, right?
Yes.
You've got all these tools that you've learned from all these different things, and you've got to bring whatever tools that you feel are right for that person that's going to help them transcend or transform for whatever they're doing. And that makes you an artist, right? You've got all the palette of colors, and you're going to help someone make their life into a masterpiece.
So how important do you think authenticity is?
Okay, so authenticity. So how do you be authentic? You got to be vulnerable. You've got to be prepared to be vulnerable, because how can you be authentic if you're keeping secrets away from the world that stop you from being authentic? Because if you're living in a way where you are thinking, I hope nobody finds out about this, because if they do, they might not love me anymore, might not accept me anymore. I might get fired from my job, right? All these things are causing you to live a half-life, to live way within your gifts and your potential. So now I do say to people, I just temper this a little bit. I came out and got vulnerable, and I wrote a book, and I put it all in a book. That might not be the best way to start out, but being vulnerable with your spouse, with the person you've decided to live your life with, because when you do that, you make yourself vulnerable and you tell them things that nobody else knows. That takes a lot of trust. It takes a lot of vulnerability. And so when you're vulnerable, that builds trust, and all relationships are built on trust. If you don't have trust, you don't have anything.
Yeah. Vulnerability is a huge thing. And it also, you talked about living half a life. If you're not vulnerable, there is only half of you available to another person. The Venus Flytrap, your book that we've been talking about, what is the most surprising thing about yourself or the process that happened?
Well, it's a long list, to be honest.
Okay.
So one of them, actually, as I said, came about 3 days ago that I hadn't realized. As I'm writing and I'm talking about the book and all these different things, and I'm just walking around the house and this light bulb goes on, and you're afraid of intimacy. And I go, oh. And I started to look at that, mirror it through, and I went, I absolutely am. Where did that start? As a child. So there's so many things, but I learned it because of this relationship. I learned that I had very low self-esteem. I learned that I was not very good at setting, no, not that I wasn't very good at setting boundaries. I was hopeless at setting boundaries in every area of my life. I'd do these events and I'd be exhausted. I'd been speaking since 9 o'clock in the morning. It was 10 o'clock at night. And I'm ready to go to bed. And people would come up to me in the ballroom and say, well, let me tell you. I would go, they need me more right now than I need some sleep. So I'm going to be there for them. That's not standing in your boundary and not taking care of yourself. And when you're not taking care of yourself, you're not taking care of others. Because if I don't get to bed and get sleep, I'm going to be useless the next day. So constantly letting people step over my boundaries, putting everybody else before me, and that's not good. That's not healthy.
Are you still working on that?
No, I got that down now. I'm really good at setting boundaries right now. And again, because of what I learned and because of what I realized because of this. So I have no problem setting boundaries right now. No, not good. I wouldn't do that again. I'm not the person I was then. That person is dead. They don't live on earth anymore. They're gone. And I had to grieve that person because there were things about that person I loved. And I had things about that person I've kept, like my humor and stuff like that. But I've been alone for 4 years. Not completely alone. But I haven't dated in 4 years. I have talked to a few people. I've never done that in my life before. And I love it. And
how healing.
Yeah. And one of the things that I used to give up, as we're talking about giving things up, because you lose your identity because you're a giver and you give, and no matter how much you give, it's never going to be enough. So I don't do that anymore. I take care of me first. Like in an airplane, oxygen goes out, you got to put the mask on. Go around the plane going, you have enough oxygen yet? Use mine. No, put your own on. And I've done that. And one of the things I gave away was my sense of purpose. So I've got huge visions and huge things I want to do. Why? Because I enjoy throwing myself into things and being passionate about them. You and Marissa were talking about, what's your purpose? It's whatever you decide. And people go, I got to ask God. God's not going to help you with that. You got to decide what your purpose is. God's giving you free will. Now, you're going to get answers if you ask questions. God's going to answer you probably with a question. So you figure it out yourself. So I find things that I'm passionate about. Now, I go through periods of time where I'm not passionate about anything. Like before I wrote the book, I was very dispassionate for a number of years. But that was when I was going through my healing.
So what was the thought in your mind that preceded, I'm going to write this book? What was the intention originally?
Okay. That's a great question. I don't know. I'm thinking, how the hell would I know what that thought was? So what caused me to write the book? A number of things. And it's been a process. I never, when I wrote this book, imagined that it was going to be a tool that I would be able to use to help people in toxic relationships. It was just a freaking story, a true story that was hilarious and deep. And my hope back then was, well, maybe people can see a little bit of themselves in this and feel better about themselves, not feel alone, not feel ashamed, all those kind of things. But I also wanted to write the book because it's a damn good story. And you could just read the book and be entertained. But usually, even if that's what people's intention are when they read it, they usually say, I did something very similar to that. Or I can see myself in there. And when you're going through that, you feel like you're alone. That I'm the only one going through this. And very quickly, like you said, when I used to do my events, and we used to do transformation events, and people would get up and start sharing, and they and I would go through a transformation process in front of everybody. And then when we finish, all these people would come out and then go and hug that person because they were all going through the same thing. So what my idea is, help people to recognize they're not alone. There's no need to be ashamed. There's nothing wrong with being vulnerable, even if you're a man. And that you just need community. You just need community. You need to feel safe in a community. So that's why we're building a community where people can come and share that stuff and feel safe. They can either just listen to other people, read what other people have to say, or they can get involved, whatever they want to do.
So in the process of promoting this book, first of all, the process of writing the book, and now you're talking about the book, you're talking about the story. Have you noticed any triggers that still need to be flattened?
People have said to me, are you over this now? And I would say, I have no idea. They say, what do you mean you have no idea? You've been single for 4 years. How long is it going to take? And I go, I don't know. I'll never know until I'm faced with the same situation. And then I have to see how I react. So obviously when I'm writing the book, I'm thinking about her a lot. And I knew she's going to be back. She's going to come back. I knew. And of course she did. But then she started to show the same behavior just to make sure you were drawn to that before. Are you going to go? And I didn't even respond. I didn't even bite on it. So I know as far as that is concerned, just to be clear, I know as far as that is concerned, I'm in good shape. But if someone asks me now, are you fully healed? What am I going to say?
There's always more.
There's always going to be more, right?
Yeah.
There's always going to be more. So I passed the first little test. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Well, you change your vibration. You know, you heal these pieces and you change your vibration. And I don't know if this happened for you or not. It has happened in my life where I look at the person, seeing them years later and thinking, what was I thinking? Because I was seeing their higher self. I was projecting onto them the beauty of their soul.
Yes.
And ignoring all the red flags and the things. Yeah. And so years later, I could see clearly. Yeah.
Like I said, she's doing the same thing she was doing back then. I saw them differently back then. Today, I see them for what they are. And that's not something, I have no desire for that in my life.
All right. So having come out of a very toxic relationship, for those people out there that are realizing they're in a toxic relationship or have known and just have not known how to get out of it, what do you recommend in terms of how they take care of themselves and what next steps could be?
So I actually have a guide, the 7 signs that you're in a toxic relationship, which I think they sent you the link for.
Yes.
Yeah. So anybody can get that. That'll help you identify for yourself. They're a non-confrontational way to take a look at yourself.
Especially in a story form like that.
I love that. By the way, is that a card behind you? I love that. Is that of the tree and the roots? What is?
That is my book.
Oh, wow. Let me see it.
It's called Stop, Look, Choose.
Ooh. Oh, that's beautiful.
Your Journey to Peace and Freedom.
I love it.
Thank you. We just plugged my book.
Great. We should.
Where's your book?
When you first see it, you go, oh, that's an erotic romance. It is for sure, but that's just the surface. And then this is the book that I read from earlier, Communicating with God. So it's a mixture of communion, and communication.
Do you want to just share real quickly your website or where they can find you?
It's vft23.com. It's an awesome site, they tell me. I have a podcast, which is it's not as good as Joni's, but it's pretty good, right? It's me having fun and sharing whatever insights that might help people.
It's called
The Venus Flytrap Podcast. If nothing else, there's a beautiful song on there. It's the Venus Flytrap theme song. That will be the theme song for the movie when it comes out.
Oh, is it in the works?
It works in my head.
Oh.
I'm already talking to producers and agents who will take potential series to Netflix. That's a start.
As you were telling parts of the story, I was thinking this is a 6-part limited series right here.
Yeah, at least, because there's 3 books.
So I have one more question for you.
All right, one more.
One more. Come on, you can do it. How do you recommend that the listener go out and live their most alive lives?
Well, how do you live? I think it's different for everybody, don't you, really? I think everybody's different in terms of what they would consider to be a full life.
If you could hand them a couple of nuggets, and you don't worry about whether or not it's their style or they're going to receive it, just your authentic truth.
The authentic truth is just be who you really are, but that's not that easy. So recognize that there's nothing wrong with you. When people say, I'm so broke. I say, really? Well, can you send me photographs? And they go, what do you mean? I say, I can't see anything that's broken right now. Show me. Well, my heart is broken. No, it isn't. You're not broken. Have you had some difficult experiences? Well, sure, but you're not broken. You still have every gift, every power that you were born with. All we're going to do is just change some freaking patterns. How hard can that be? There's nothing to be ashamed of. You're a human being. By being, that means living, and you've lived a life. And you've done some things that people have told you, for whatever reason, make you less or to be ashamed of. And they are liars. Simple as that. Now, did they know they were lying? Probably not, but it doesn't change the fact. So you are a whole being with everything you need to live the life that you choose. Now, you may not see it, you may not feel it right now, but it's there. And people say, well, I pray to God to give me courage. And I go, God's already given you courage. If you ask God for courage, all God can do, knowing that he has given you everything that you will ever need, is put you into circumstances that mean you got to use the courage you already got. God's not going to be the courage for you. If that was the case, why are you here? You're here to tap into that potential.
Yes. There were a lot of nuggets in there. See? That was beautiful.
You believe in me, Joni. I'm going to be calling you every time I'm in doubt and I don't know what to say. Joni, it's me.
I believe in you.
I'm in the middle of a podcast. I don't care. I need an answer.
I'm there for you.
Oh. You're funnier than me. That's not fair.
Enjoy a good laugh. So I want to thank you for being here and for your sense of humor. And it's a little bit of an unusual conversation for me, and it was fun to navigate. So I appreciate you. Thanks.
I love your turn of phrase. Have you ever thought of going into politics?
No.
Yes, you have. You're in corporate America. That's all political. All saying the right thing. People are getting fired.
Oh, listen, and we'll end on this. The people with whom I work in corporate America are very corporate. My secret sauce is coming in underneath with the emotional and spiritual without calling it that.
You're like a breath of fresh air. Yeah.
It's so much fun. So again, thank you so much. Folks out there, if you found helpful nuggets or inspiration in this episode, please share it with somebody you care about. The more we give for the sake of giving, the bigger difference that we can make. And if you are interested in coaching with me, contact me right now at my website, wakeupwithjoni.com. One last thing, if you could subscribe, rate, and leave a review for this podcast, that would be extraordinary. So now, my favorite part, beautiful humans, it's your turn to wake up, go out, and live your most alive.